What's up, Duelist? It's been a little while since I've done a replay review. So I've got 4 replays for you guys, bunch of different decks, a lot of decks people have been asking to see on the channel, a bunch of different players. I'm going to go through their plays, I'm going to analyze it, I'm going to give you that good data. Before we get into things, if you guys want to join the Discord, you want to send me replays, that kind of thing, there's a Discord link in the description below. Come join, come play with people. That's where the tournaments are held too, for the most part. Yeah, do that. And of course, if you guys want more content, you guys want more stuff, you can become a member. It's like $2.99 a month and you get extra bonus content. I actually uploaded a really sick members only video yesterday that you guys don't want to miss. That one is really good. It's probably the best members only video I've ever done. So yeah, definitely check that out if you have the extra funds and you feel like supporting the channel and getting a few extra vids. Okay, let's get right into things. First match that I witnessed was Lowers versus Simply. This is some good players. I think Lowers has topped some stuff before. I'm not sure. I think Simply might have too, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, Simply is playing Diva Hero, and Lowers is playing Coraz, KFC, Carpath deck. Now, we've got a couple of cards here in each player's hand that are bricks, quote unquote. We've got the Ancient Gear Dragon, which is just a straight up brick from the Coraz deck. It doesn't do anything in your hand, basically. You don't play Machina Fortress. You don't play any real way to get it out of your hand for value besides Phoenix Wing. But Phoenix Wing is just a hard -1 because you're just discarding a card that was dead anyway, but you're still going -1 because you had a dead card to begin with. Now on Simply's side, there are some cards that I don't like. There's DD Crow, which I think in today's metagame is like not the best card to be main decking or to even be playing. I don't think it's that good against most of the main decks. The only thing it's like really good against is like the value decks if you need to stop deck dev from happening turn 1, and like Dragon Turbo kinda if they leave in Magical Stone because they're bad. There's like some instances where DD Crow is like okay. Obviously against like the Avarice Debris Dragon deck, it's like decent because usually it's trading 1-for-1, but it's just really narrow and it's very rare that it actually trades 1-for-1. It's very rare. Sometimes it's good, but I think it's just a little bit too narrow. It's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit. And then of course, Giant Trunade, and that's as a sideboard card. As a main deck card, I cannot condone this. I cannot condone this choice. And then Giant Trunade is a card that I have not been happy with in the past in the main deck. I think in these sort of like Diva Hero decks, all you really need is Space Typhoon, Heavy Storm, and the Phoenix Wings, and you're good to go on back row removal. You can also use your Caiuses, obviously, as back row removal, and you can use your other plays like Stratos as back row removal as well. So this hand, while it does suck, he does have double Malicious. You'll see later on he is playing Greffer, so it's not too bad. He could potentially find Plague to unstick these with a Greffer. Giant Trunade, not great. DD Crow, not great. All right, let's get into it. Simply goes first. He can activate Future Fusion. He can send Ocean plus Evil Guy. So now in 2 turns, he's getting an absolute 0, which is pretty good. And then he also sets the Space Typhoon. I don't like setting Space Typhoon here. It kind of just exposes you to Heavy Storm for no real reason, but you do kind of have to bluff some sort of defense. Like if your opponent's playing like an Airbellum deck, for example, or a Spear Reaper deck, you kind of want to have something there to be like, all right, maybe don't attack me directly, but honestly, if you get attacked with the Spear Reaper here, you're probably fine with it. I think just hold the Typhoon. Don't expose it to Heavy Storm. There's no real reason to. Yeah, especially because you'll see here, Lone Fire gets summoned. This is the obvious play. Lone Fire into Titanial. Attacks for 2,800. So Lowers has Trap Dust Shoot in his hand, and Simply has 4 cards in hand, right? Simply has 2 Malicious and a Chainable monster. So if Simply doesn't draw a monster, he can chain DD Crow to the Trap Dust Shoot, and Lowers will be forced to put back a Destiny Hero Malicious, which is kind of funny. That being said, it still does discard the DD Crow from the hand for no value. So it's still not good. Basically, you might as well just let him take the DD Crow and keep the Malicious in hand because there's no real reason to shuffle back the Malicious unless you really want to find, unless you find Greffer. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but you can make a cute play, force him to shuffle back the Malicious, but it doesn't really matter at this point because Future Fusion's been used, which is basically the point I'm making. Anyway, in the end phase, he sets 2 cards, and he passes, and Simply just takes that. Now, you have set Mystical Space Typhoon here. You definitely want to hit something in the end phase, because you don't want these cards to be chainable. If this card is chainable, now Space Typhooning it on his turn, he'll just chain the card, and you go -1, and that's exactly what happens. He Space Typhoons, and it doesn't matter which one he hits here. They're both chainable. It's going to chain Dust Shoot. And he did draw a monster, so he can't really chain the Crow to make the cute play. And it does reveal that he is on Dark Greffer. So Dark Greffer can unbrick double Malicious hands. He's going to take Dark Greffer, shuffle it back, and he has to set Crow to whatever. He didn't shuffle the deck, but it doesn't matter because it's game this turn. He makes Black Rose. He switches the monster to attack, and then that's it. That's lethal damage. So Dead before the Future Fusion could resolve. DD Crow a brick, Trunade a brick, and Double Mally obviously very bricky. In the Diva Hero deck, you are going to be bricking a large percentage of the time, so you want your tech cards to be just cards that turn on dead hands. If they don't turn on dead hands and they make your good hands better, they're not worth playing because your good hands in the Diva Hero deck are already really good. You need something to fix your dead hands. That's what you should be teching. In my opinion, after a lot of experience playing with the deck, I think you should not be teching cards like DD Crow. Low impact, narrow interactive cards like that seem pretty bad. Yeah, going into the next game, obviously Dust Shoot was insane there, but he could have M-Phase sniped it with the Typhoon. Tiny misplay ended up costing him a lot, honestly. Lowers is going second this game. Simply does get to go first, and Simply also does open Future Fusion again, which is fucking broken as shit. I wish I could draw Future Fusion like that. Now, Lowers does open up with Trust Dust Shoot, but again, he's going second, so it's not super great. This is going to send Malicious. He's going to banish the Malicious. He's going to Special Malicious. Here comes Deep Sea Diva. He's going to bring out Gilme. He's going to make Stardust, and he's going to pass the turn. Now, while he does have Grand Mole to bounce the Stardust, the issue with Grand Mole in general is it takes your normal summon. So even though it's a piece of removal for a monster, a pretty good piece of removal, a repeatable one, if you will, it takes your normal summon. So you're going to be taking damage if your opponent has additional pieces of pressure, which he does in the form of this Spine Gilman and inevitably this Miracle Fusion and this Future Fusion. Trap Dust Shoot, Solemn Judgment are going to be okay, but Solemn Judgment is another way you're taking damage. When you're already getting beat down, it's pretty tough. Drawing Titanial, obviously one of the downsides of this deck, along with Ancient Gear Dragon. There's no real way to convert Titanial in these types of Gear Town Coraz decks, unfortunately. Now, I think you could build a list that does, and I'm working on one as we speak, but I don't think it is. I don't think it's very good to be drawing Titanial, if you will. Anyway, Grand Mole bounces the Stardust. You have to be pretty happy with that, just like keeping the pressure off your back. But Trap Dust Shoot, Solemn Judgment, not going to do you any favors. Solemn Judgment definitely not doing you any favors in your hand. You probably should have set it here. Now, I don't like what Lowers does here. He just doesn't activate his Dust Shoot. That doesn't make any fucking sense. I would have definitely activated it here. Simply picking up another narrow, bad card that makes your bad hands worse. You can see here, the DD Crow, the Necrogarna, they're making his good hand worse. If he had, like, more active cards, Smashing Ground, also a card I'm not super happy with in this type of deck. Obviously, you need something to deal with Vanity's Fiend, but I'm much more of a proponent of Book of Moon in these styles of decks because Book of Moon can interrupt the play as it's happening. Now, Smashing Ground does answer Titanial. It does answer Gear Dragon, but Gear Dragon's already dealt you 3,000 at that point, which is really awkward, so I don't really love Smashing Ground. It can do some good things, though. It can do some good things. Sets Necrogarna, elects not to summon it to get in extra damage. I don't know why you wouldn't. And the Dust Shoot just doesn't get used, which is wild. I don't know why we are waiting on that. Anyway, here comes Trooper, attacks the Gilman, passes a turn. Here comes Absolute Zero. Dust Shoot still doesn't get used. And here comes Stratos Surge. And now the game's over because you've just taken too much damage. At this point, he can run over the Trooper. What Lowers probably should have considered on the last turn was going Lone Fire into Dandelion and just chilling and trying to find a way to set up his Gear Town play so he could clear these monsters. Maybe save the Card Trooper. But Card Trooper run over Gilman just means you're taking another huge direct attack. Your Solemn's getting worse and worse and worse. Here comes Grand Mole again, but at this point, you've waited on the Dust Shoot just far too long. Bounces the Elemental Hero Absolute Zero, sets, summons the Gear Dragon, activates Black Garden, Dust Shoots now, but you're just dead on board, so it doesn't really matter. All he has to do is smash and ground your dude, and then attack with both. Here comes Solemn Judgment. Here comes Miracle Fusion. DD Crow, once again, too low impact. Not going to be able to interact with this Miracle Fusion, and that's going to be the game. So, like I said, DD Crow kind of rotted in both players' hands that game. The Necrogarna didn't do anything. The fucking tech cards that were included or were chosen to include had zero impact on the game. They were just cards that like didn't matter. He had a good enough draw. He had Future Fusion, Miracle Fusion. He didn't need those tech cards. So you don't want cards that are like tech that can improve your good draws already. You want cards that are like live that can improve your dead draws, more or less. Anyway, Simply Yu-Gi-Oh! Opens up Future Fusion again. Very powerful Duelist. And Lowers doesn't open Dust Shoot this game. Instead, he opens up Coraz with no real way to convert off of it outside of Brain Control, which is a little slow. He finds Snowman Eater. He's like, okay, that's good. That's a good start. Set Snowman, set Legacy. Probably set Torrential too. Nope, doesn't want to set Torrential. Interesting. I probably would have set Torrential just because Evil Guy Caius is really annoying for you. Now, it's not good because you can still like Brain and then Coraz and like come back. It's really annoying for you. And now Simply makes like a pretty big misplay here. So since Simply is playing Dark Grepher and Plague, he can unbrick a second Malicious from his hand The only way he can't really truly unbrick it is if he draws the second one. So he should activate Future Fusion first. Because if he allures, yeah, there's a chance you hit Heavy Storm, but there's also the same chance that you draw into the second Malicious. So what you should do is use your Future Fusion, send the Malicious, send the Water Monster, and then activate Allure afterwards, after you've thinned your deck of the Ocean and the Malicious that you don't really want to draw with this hand. So I think you should go Future Fusion first, activate Allure afterwards. That's, in my opinion, the better play. Again, Smashing Ground looking a little silly in this hand, but we'll see if it ends up panning out. Here comes Allure. He draws the second Malicious, and that's just like, honestly, punished for a messy play. Draws the second Malicious, and then he reveals it, which I understand you're upset, but like, if you're playing a game, like, this, in my opinion, is the same as like I've done this before too, and maybe they're just playing a friendly game, maybe they're just like homies, and this is not a big deal. But like, finish out the game. Like, you have Plague to unbrick your double Malicious. You still have Future Fusion. This is still very much a game that's happening now. This isn't a point where you've like drawn unlucky and you're like losing because of it and the game's over because of it. This is a point where you've drawn like kind of unlucky. Sure, you've drawn your double Malicious, but it's because of a misplay, and you can still very easily play out of the situation. You have 3 removal spells. You have a Prodigy, which will give you a fresh draw off of a Malicious. You have a Future Fusion, which will turn into an absolute 0. And your opponent has a pretty slow start, so you have the time to like figure it out. You don't really need to reveal these cards here. I think it's just like kind of weird. I do this sometimes. I do this sometimes, but it's usually once I've lost the game because of a brick, and I'll just show him the brick and I'll be like, yeah, I lost because of this. But here at this point in the game, it just seems a little silly to reveal it, because now your opponent just has free information, and it alters the whole course of the game, because now he knows you have two of the cards in your hand. He knows, which is bad. Okay, obviously here comes the evil guy. Sack for a Malicious. Malicious is going to attack into Snowman Eater. Snowman Eater is going to pop the Malicious, sets the Solemn Judgment, activates Future Fusion, sends water, activates Future Fusion, sets Solemn Judgment, and passes the turn, and then forgets about the evil guy draw. Both players forget about this. This is a mandatory draw. If this card was tributed this turn to tribute summon a hero monster, draw 1 card. So he does have to draw that card, basically. He does have to draw it. It does alter the course of this game. It changes a lot of things. Also, main phase 2, you should have maybe considered Smashing Ground the Snowman Eater. While it's not a good play, and he probably would have decided not to do it, I would have maybe considered it, because it's just like, all right, he just set Snowman Eater. Here comes Coraz. Coraz is going to target nothing because it's going to get solemned, but now the life totals are just a little too low, and lowers his brain control plus Debris Dragon, so you know what's going to happen. You basically just have it figured out. Here comes Dark Rever, which should have been the draw on the previous turn. And yeah, Dark Rever is going to attack for 17. It's not going to do anything. Dark Rever would have unbricked those Malicious, ironically enough, because it would have got you Plague. Here comes Debris Dragon. Here comes the Ancient Fairy, and then Ancient Fairy is going to blow up the Gear Town, and that's going to be lethal, because Debris Dragon is insane in this deck. It just basically summons out a 2100 and a 3000 monster for free, and gains you life points too. Here comes Legacy afterward, after he's deck thinned, and yeah, Coraz is going to take this match. So I think a lot of sloppy play, a lot of like revealing information that he didn't need to reveal. Maybe could have set the Smashing Ground, something as a bluff. Who knows? I just think that game could have been played a bunch of different ways, and a couple mistakes were made too as a result of probably tilt. In any case, next replay. Next replay we've got is Trap Monies versus Lameo. Trap Monies wins the rock, paper, scissors. He gets to go first. 43 cards from the opponent. He is playing X-Sabers. Now there are a couple cards here that I see that I'm immediately like, okay, you could probably cut these. I don't really like Cold Wave. I don't really like Trap Dust Shoot. And I actually don't really love Sangan in the X-Saber deck, as weird as it sounds. I don't like any normal summon that's not an X-Saber. So basically, Giant Rat is technically an X-Saber, Rescue Cat is technically an X-Saber, and then every other normal summon, I want to be an X-Saber. That way, Gotham Z calls live as often as possible, and Fall Trolls live as often as possible, so you're always threatening something. I think that's the only way you can get away with playing X-Sabers. Now, I've said this in the past, I think X-Sabers is really good when it's functioning, and then when it's not functioning, it is a nearly unplayable deck. It is like vanillas, like 1300 vanillas. Like, it's pretty bad when it's not functioning. When you're not drawing your payoffs, or when your opponent's keeping your normal summon out of play, the two halves of the deck don't really talk to each other in a way that makes it very functional. So cards like Trap Dust Shoot, the reason I don't like Trap Dust Shoot in this deck is because Trap Dust Shoot does basically what your combo does, but it doesn't contribute to your combo. Your combo is going to rip apart their hand regardless. You don't need Trap Dust Shoot to like take one monster out of their hand. You don't need that. You can side Trap Dust Shoot, sure, maybe for like Monarch matchups where having that extra piece of hand interaction is good, but I think it's not necessarily good at all points in the game. It's not necessarily good in certain matchups, in the same way that just like making sure your combos resolve is. So you could easily cut Trap Dust Shoot, you could easily cut Sangan, and I think you can honestly cut Cold Wave from this deck. Catfall Troll, Cold Wave, it's like good, but it's like not insane. Cold Wave is good, but it's a little bit awkward with Gotems. Cold Wave, you go Cold Wave, chain Gotems, they can still chain Oppression. It's like still awkward. So I don't really love it there, but I mean, it is good enough to probably play it, but you can probably cut Sangan and Dust Shoot from this deck and just go down to 41 or even 40, because there are some other cards that we see that I think he can cut as well. Anyway, here comes Card Trooper Mill 3. This opening from Trap Monies I think is really bad. So the reason I think it's bad is because I think you go Rhoda for Greffer, I think you pitch Sirocco, you send Value, and then you bring out Armed Wing, and then you set Royal Oppression. I think that opening is so much stronger than this. Summon Card Trooper, it's like my brother in Christ. Like, you're just hoping to hit a Value or something. I don't really understand. I don't really understand why you wouldn't go for the Rhoda Greffer play. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Rhoda is like, it just basically turns your whole hand on. And yeah, okay, maybe you're afraid of Shura or Fire Dog, but first off, Shura or Fire Dog runs over Card Trooper just the same, right? And you're getting punished just the same. And then on top of that, Shura and Fire Dog, if they go, let's say Shura bring out Value, Synchro main phase 2 into Android, you can Oppression that. Or if they go Fire Dog, bring out Magician, Synchro main phase 2, you can Oppression their Synchro play. And then you still have Armed Wing in play, under Bottomless, under Torrential, and you've stuck a threat, basically. Even in the worst case scenario, you've stuck a threat. Here, this is just too passive of a play. It doesn't get your deck going. It doesn't pressure your opponent. It doesn't lead your hand into a win. Later in the game, let's say you get in 2,300 points of damage. Later in the game, Armageddon for Plague Bionic or Brain Control easily can become lethal. And then Card Trooper can also help you poke at stuff too. So like next turn, Card Trooper as an additional summon is like pretty good. Or you could just not additionally summon, you know? Like just having Greffer in play threatens so much, whereas having Card Trooper in play threatens very little. Sets the Oppression, passes the turn. I think this opening was very wrong from Trap Monies. And I think it actually does cost him this game 1. Anyway, here comes T-Set, set Sangan, set Trap Dust Shoot. Now I like this play, but I think you just gun the Trap Dust Shoot in the draw phase. Honestly, you just gun it. He doesn't. He wants to try and trick him into attacking into the cores, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense not to gun it. You should just take the monster, honestly. Like now while he has it, because there's a chance he just goes set 2. And then what? And then you have a dead Dust Shoot with a Gores in hand. Another card that I think is not very good in X-Sabers is Gores. I think Tragodia is just better. Now Gores is a good card, and Gores is good when you're like have a dead hand, which can often happen in X-Sabers. Gores can help you stabilize and buy you a few turns to get a new hand. So Gores is probably better than Dust Shoot and probably better than Sangan. But like in this instance, it's like, why did you even have the Dust Shoot in your deck? Like not only did you not use it when you were supposed to use it, but like it's not contributing to your deck's game plan at all. This Gores is going to be pretty good though. Here comes an Armageddon Knight summon. Armageddon Knight is going to send a Value now. But yeah, again, probably should have just been a Greffer, honestly. Like, I don't really see why not, other than like Torrential Mirror Force, of course, but you know, force it to happen. And then next turn you have Armageddon Knight, send Value, banish the Armed Wing, Armor Master, like force the plays, force the cards to be used. Trap Dust Shoot's going to get used here, which, again, at a point where, like, you know, he just doesn't want him to set it back around the Trap Dust Shoot to be dead, but you're already facing down the summon. That being said, he does have Gores. Here comes Sirocco. It just would have been really awkward had Trap Monies decided to play around Dust Shoot and just set 2 cards, which he could have very, very, very easily done, honestly. Yeah, so here comes Card Trooper, attack the set monster. Sangan's going to search Emmer's Blade. Armageddon attack directly, and Gores is going to get dropped, and Gores is going to stabilize this board. Well, again, I don't think Gores is like super insane in the X-Saber hands because it doesn't turn on your hands in a sense. It does make your dead hands a little bit more playable, and it buys you the time you need to draw out of them, which I think is more than enough, especially because it doesn't take a normal summon too, which is really nice. Any sort of card that doesn't take a normal summon, Cyber Dragon, fucking Tragodia, Gores, they're all like, you can make an argument to include them just because they don't take away from you making plays. Whereas cards like Sangan, this card takes away from you making an X-Saber play. Raikou takes away from you making an X-Saber play, if that makes sense. Anyway, now imagine this was track. This would have been insane. He just goes pitch, steal, summon Airbellum, go crazy basically. Either that or he could do some crazy shit this turn. So one of the plays that I do like, is I like Cold Wave, Chain Book of Moon, target the Card Trooper, summon Emmer's Blade crash into Armageddon Knight, get Full Helm Knight, attack over the set Card Trooper, bring back the Emmer's Blade, and then you have 2 X-Saber names in play, which is really good, and your Gotems becomes live, which is also really good. And your Book of Moon's not getting any use anyway because you're cold waving yourself, so you don't get a chance to set it. So I actually do like cold wave set Book of Moon. Yes, you can try to rip his hand with Airbellum, but it doesn't fucking matter because you cold wave locked his hand anyway. So most of the cards you're going to be hitting are going to be dead under cold wave anyway, and you'll get a chance to hit him next turn with Airbellum. You can even main phase 2 Hyunlei pop his back row if you want to, making that play. So I think that play is just generally speaking better than this play, which is cold wave, normal summon Airbellum. This play just doesn't turn on your hand, more or less. It doesn't make your hand live. Your Book of Moon's now not going to get that much value. Your Godam Z-Call is now not live for the next few turns, so I just don't like this play as much. It deals more damage, but I just like having the Hyunlei as well. Anyway, attacks over the Card Trooper, and yeah, he draws Trap Dust Shoot, which is really awkward. He has 4 spells. Now the Rhoda looking a little bit awkward. He should have used it, honestly, on the first turn of the game to go for Greffer and go for the stronger opening. Airbellum's going to rip a card. It's going to hit Brain Control. Of course, it hits the best card. Always, right? Can't set a back row because of Cold Wave, obviously. And even if you could set a back row there, you wouldn't want to set Godams. You'd want to set Book because you have no X-Saber names. So, yeah. Anyway, draws Sirocco. Sirocco can get summoned. It can attack over the Airbellum. And now you do have to think about this back row, too, which is annoying because you didn't go for the Hyunlei, blow up the back row. On the following turn, you would actually just straight up win the game. Like, let's say he has Sirocco here, but you have fucking Hyunlei, token, Gores. He has to attack over the 1400 token, but next turn you can just, like, summon your dude and you win. Literally. That's it. You would have an Airbellum, of course. But, yeah, it would just be lethal damage. So, yeah, I think that setup is definitely a little bit better. Unfortunately, the back row is Royal Oppression for Trap Monies, and that's not going to do fuck all against these monsters that are in play. He could have summoned further into this, but he didn't need to, really. Attacks directly, sets Emmer, sets Godams, passes the turn. Activates Armed Wing. Armed Wing attacks over the token. Try to alleviate some of the pressure. Set, passes the turn. Gores is going to attack over Armed Wing. He's going to take 400 and sets the monster and passes the turn. Now, you do have to consider return. Obviously, it's always bad to set Emmer or set Full Helm Knight. I think you always want to summon that card, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not even commit it. There's really no reason to, I guess. Except you want your Godams to be live. Yeah, I don't know. I would have maybe, like, just flipped all my monsters. Or just, like... Yeah, I don't know. Made Hyunlei. Because if you're going to play around Mirror Force, it's better to make Hyunlei. And if you're going to play around Oppression, you should just go Hyunlei anyway. Because then you force Oppression, and then they can't special summon to deal with your Gores. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's going to attack the Hamster. Hamster's going to grab Raikou. Raikou's going to be able to out that Gores finally. There's a lot of, like, just, like, not doing the thing your deck is supposed to be doing happening here. Raikou's going to pop the Godam Z-Call. Mills Necrogarna. Here comes Armageddon Knight, but leaving the Raikou in attack position is a liability. Armageddon Knight is going to send the Plague. Again, last turn, just flip your Full Helm Knight. Like, fuck it. Like, just flip it. Attack the Raikou with Full Helm Knight. Like, he didn't stop your Gores attack last turn. Why is he stopping? He's not going to stop it this turn, right? Anyway, sends Plague. Plague gets activated. Special summons. And I think this is a bit greedy going for Goyo Guardian. I think you should just go for, like, Colossal Fighter or something. And then just attack over the Gores. Don't leave the Raikou in attack position. Obviously, taking Gores is, like, decent, but I don't know. Trap Dust Shoot's now live. He goes for Trap Dust Shoot. He takes Ragigura. I think this is a choke. I think you have to take Monk. Because he can just force your Oppression with Call of the Haunted, and then Monk Cat kills you on the spot. So, yeah, that's basically what happens. He takes Ragigura. I'm actually shocked that he took Ragigura there. There's no reason to take it. Like, Ragigura does nothing. Whereas Monk kills you immediately the second it resolves. So, yeah, here comes Emmer's Blade. That's going to attack over the Raikou. And now, Trap Monies is just in an awkward spot, right? Honestly, if I was Lameo, I probably would have just fucking sent it that turn, but whatever. Anyway, here comes Return. Return can bring back all the monsters, potentially put together a kill, but honestly, not really, because this doesn't get through Emmer's Blade. Still, you have to go for something like, I don't even know. I don't even know what you go for here. Plague plus Goyo into Thought Ruler. No, there's really nothing you can even go for. I do like the Thought Ruler line because it lets you gain life points to turn on your Oppression. So I like Synchro, Plague plus Goyo into Thought Ruler. And then you force the Full Helm by attacking it. And then you attack over the Emmer's Blade with Thought Ruler. Or you can attack over the Full Helm Knight with Thought Ruler. Either way, you don't even have to attack the Emmer's Blade here. And then you gain life points and then your Oppression is live. But this play is just like, doesn't make any fucking sense. He synchros into Armor Master and then just, oh, not Armor Master, sorry. He corrects it. Synchros into Black Rose. I was about to say, like, you can't synchro into Armor Master with Plague. But yes, he synchros into Black Rose Dragon, and then he rotas for Greffer, and then he locks his own board. So he can't make Thought Ruler, and he can't gain life points, and then he just dies. Because these cards don't do anything to Airbellum. Or not Airbellum, Emer's Blade. Sorry, I'm getting super mixed up. This turn is really complicated. Basically, he should have made Thought Ruler gain life points to turn on his Royal Oppression, and he didn't do that, and now he just loses. So, yeah, that's pretty much that. Why even attack the Emer's Blade? Why even give him the option to go into another Emer's Blade? Honestly, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, this game's just fucking over. He just goes, normal summon Monk, Monk activate, you can't Oppression because you paid too much life points, and yeah, should have taken the Monk with the Dust Shoot. Insane game. A lot of mistakes on both sides, but I definitely think the X-Saber player could have and should have won this game regardless. But I do think that the play that was smarter was Dark Greffer into Armed Ring on the first turn of the game. That would have been much more forcing. It would have gotten use out of this Royal Oppression that unironically sat dead the entire game against X-Sabers, which is so rare. You never see a Royal Oppression not get used once versus X-Sabers. Kind of crazy. But yeah, pops a back row, specials Fall Troll, and that's just going to be lethal damage. You can just attack over the Greffer. You don't even need to get too cute here. Here comes Yugioh, and then they're going into game 2. Game 2, a lot of mistakes in game 1. Let's see if they clean it up. Game 2, you can see kind of the story, how this is going to go. There's a deck dev. There's a Trap Dust Shoot. Here comes Trap Dust Shoot turn 1. No, doesn't get activated. Why not? Why not use it immediately to see what back row you're dealing with? What are you waiting for? I don't understand why you wouldn't just gun the Trap Dust Shoot here. Like, what if he just summons an Airbellum? You get fucked so hard. Like, are you waiting for him to attack directly, then you Dust Shoot, and then, like, what if he just doesn't? Like, then you still lose a card. Also, in general, you should side out Coraz versus X-Sabers, because if they're attacking you directly, they've either ripped your hand apart with Gotems, or they're attacking you with an Airbellum, or they're just going to play around Coraz, because you're attacking them by, yeah, they're playing around Coraz by losing, more or less. In any case, here comes the, turn where Dust Shoot doesn't get used yet again. A lot of people holding Dust Shoot for no reason. No reason at all. Armageddon Knight attacks, and Trag gets dropped. Why didn't we use the Dust Shoot again? Why didn't we use it? I don't get it. Now you're losing to this Trag. Straight up. Sets D Prison, and face Space Typhoon hits the D Prison. Now, Trag can just switch to attack. Obviously, the Dust Shoot has to get used here. Takes Giant Rat. But yeah. Trag can get switched to attack and run over this Armageddon Knight. And you just like lost cards for no real reason. This position is still fine though. Deck Dev is still going to absolutely destroy this hand. Deck Dev is like part of the reason why X-Sabers is actually unplayable. Unlike Fairies, you don't have Christia, you don't have Freed, you don't have anything you can do after you get hit with the Deck Dev. You just fucking lose. So Lameo, what he should have done was actually set Solemn Judgment. He should know that against the Blackwing decks, they're going to bring in Deck Devastation Virus, they're going to bring in stuff like that. So even if a Sirocco gets normal summoned, yes, it does suck. Well, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. It's tough, right? Because if Sirocco gets normal summoned, you don't want to Solemn it, because then he can just Armed Ring activate. But I feel like you need to set the Solemn. Maybe that's just me. Because if you don't set the Solemn, I don't know. Maybe you don't set the Solemn here. I just think you could get fucking owned by Deck Dev, unfortunately. I don't think there's really any way around it. Yep, that's what's going to happen. Deck Dev's going to happen. It's going to make this Trag hella weak, and now the Coraz is just going to take over this game. Yeah, unfortunate. Deck Dev is a cheeser card. I do think the X-Saber player played this game better. I think the Trap Monies waiting on the Trap Dust Shoot didn't make any fucking sense. But yeah, doesn't really matter because this matchup is hard carried by Deck Dev, which is just an insane floodgate. So yeah, gonna go to the next game. Pretty much here shortly. Sets Royal Oppression, sets Typhoon. Doesn't set the Royal Oppression, but doesn't really matter. Anyway, passes the turn. Not passes a turn, passes the game. You get the idea. We've got Lameo going first this time. His opening hand is Raikou. Card I'm not super happy with in X-Sabers. I think you just cut it. It's a normal summon that's not an X-Saber. It makes your bad hands worse, as you can see here. While it might turn on Gotham Sea Call, if it doesn't, then it's just bad. You'd rather just have another X-Saber name here. You'd rather just be one card deeper in your deck, more or less. Anyway, here comes set Raikou, set Gotham's E-Call, pass the turn. So, yeah, this is probably a fine opening. I think holding Space Typhoon is good. You don't want to expose it to your opponent's removal. It's so important at hitting Royal Oppression in this matchup that you just need to hold on to it. Yes, it could nail a Deck Devastation Virus, but You just have to take that gamble because Royal Oppression kills you all the same. And Royal Oppression is going to kill this card even harder, or kill this hand even harder because Deck Dev isn't hitting Airbellum and it isn't hitting Fall Troll. So you hold the Space Typhoon for Royal Oppression with this hand. Charge the Light Brigade, going to mill Heavy Storm. Keep in mind, okay, Heavy Storm, Brain Control getting milled here. When your opponent mills a card, you have to understand that card can no longer be in their hand. This is something that I want to just like drive home with a baseball bat, you know what I'm saying? Fucking, if your opponent mills Heavy Storm, they can no longer Heavy Storm you. Just for future reference, pay attention to what your opponent mills and keep a mental checklist. Be like, okay, you milled Heavy Storm. It's the Heavy Storm's gone. I can't be Heavy Stormed anymore. You milled Brain Control. I can't be Brain Control anymore. Keep that in mind. Now, this opening hand is really good against Raikou. In general, I would probably side Raikou out against this deck. While it is an extra out to Royal Oppression, it's just pretty bad against like literally all of their normal summons. So yeah, here comes Set Value, pass the turn. Charge for Raikou, Set Value is pretty safe start. It only really gets punished if your opponent has monsters in grave for Full Helm to really take advantage of. You don't really want to be setting Raikou here anyway because Full Helm will just eat it for free. So yeah, pretty much that. Draw for turn is X-Saber Emmer's Blade. So now if you're Lameo, you can flip your Raikou, hope to mill 2 Saber names, summon Airbellum, attack directly, see what happens. Here comes Flip Raikou, targets the set monster, mills only 1 Saber name, and that's just like a high roll gamble that playing Raikou is. It's just like sometimes you just don't mill the second Saber name and it just like doesn't do anything. Now imagine if he had a Saber here. He'd just win the fucking game. He'd just flip, summon, he'd have Gotham's Live, he'd have X-Saber Fall Troll. Literally the game would be over. He could rip his opponent's entire hand and OTK him. Like legit, like it just would be over. So instead of spending your turn on summoning a Raikou, you need to spend every turn summoning an X-Saber so that every turn you can threaten to combo. Every single turn. That's what makes the deck good. If you're not threatening to combo, your deck is just a bad Rescue Cat deck. Literally. It's a Rescue Cat deck that doesn't play Spies, doesn't play Caiuses, doesn't play threatening cards. You're not threatening anything. The way the X-Saber deck is good is if you're threatening a combo at all points. X-Saber Airbellum's going to connect, Coraz is going to get dropped, and of course he's going to hit a 50-50 here on Lucky Cards, which is, he's just going to hit, I think the value, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he hits the value. Oh my god, just stop rolling dice. Just click a random card. It doesn't fucking matter. You don't need to roll 1 through 4. Anyway, here comes Gore's Token, 1600. Main phase 2, he makes Cataster, but keep in mind, his opponent's used Heavy Storm. Set the fucking Mirror Force. Why are we not setting the fucking Mirror Force? Why are we not setting it? Why? Heavy Storm is gone! Heavy Storm is gone! Set the Mirror Force! He has something you need to Mirror Force in play! Just set the Mirror Force. There's really no reason not to. Anyway, he's going to get fucking Giga punished. He's going to lose his Cataster for no reason at all whatsoever. And now he's going to be able to set Royal Oppression Deep Prison. That being said, Lameo does win this turn. He does still win this turn. All he has to do is summon Emmer's Blade, activate Gotham's Z-Call, and it's full combo, and you just destroy your opponent. You just go the fuck off. You can summon like 6 different synchro monsters. You can blow him up, whatever. If he goes for Royal Oppression, you just chain Typhoon from hand. Easy clap. You win the game, right? That's the whole point of saving Typhoon, right? Right? No. You just want to choke. You just want to choke. You want to give your opponent a 50-50 that you're going to lose yet again for no fucking reason. So yeah, Space Typhoon going to hit the D Prison, and now you just lose to Royal Oppression. What the fuck was the point of all that? 1 for 1 first? Oh my god. Just insane. Just insane. Why would you not hold the Space Typhoon? Why would you not hold it? So tilting to watch. So tilting to watch. And yeah, X-Sabers is one of those decks that, like, when it works, it's really good. But you also have to play it right. And if you don't play it right, if you don't play around your opponent's cards, aka play around them milling Heavy Storm, play around them having Royal Oppression set, you're just throwing away your Cataster for free, you're just throwing away your fucking game for free. This was a 1 game. All you had to do was hold the Space Typhoon. And instead, now, losing the game. That's how it works. That's how it works. You make mistakes in Edison format, and you're going to get punished. It doesn't matter if you're winning, doesn't matter if you have a good matchup, doesn't matter if you have a bad matchup. If you make mistakes, you're going to get fucking destroyed. And that's exactly what happens. Trap Money takes over this game very easily after this. Very, very easily. Because the value deck can play under Royal Oppression. And guess what? The X-Saber deck fucking can't. It can't play under Royal Oppression. Anyway, here comes Raikou. It's going to get solemned for some fucking reason. Here comes Armageddon Knight. It's going to send Sirocco. Banish, special out Armed Wing. Attack the Ragigura. Here comes Airbellum. You don't even really need to summon this Airbellum. You can just wait. But sure. Just clear the Armageddon Knight. You don't want to give him free bodies for Caius or whatever. I guess you just take the trade. It's not a great trade, but you'll take it, whatever. Sets Necrogardener, passes a turn. And honestly, the value player should have lost this game. He breaks so fucking hard. He drew Raikou plus 4 of the cards you want to mill with Raikou. And like a lot of low impact shit, like Armageddon Knight, which never really added up to anything. Sets another Emmer's Blade, passes a turn. Draw for turn is called a Haunted, passes a turn. You have fucking 4 cards that don't do anything into Ember Split, or 5 cards that don't do anything into Royal Oppression, more or less. Unlike the Fairy deck, you can't float into a DD Warrior Lady. You can't float into Honest. You can't float into things. Basically, the way I see X-Sabers is it's like a bad version of Fairies because your Christia is Fall Troll. And compare the 2 cards. One of them is insane and one of them is not. And then if, on top of that, you don't get to play the generically good cards like Freed and DD Warrior Lady and Dialk that are just good in these types of situations under Royal Oppression. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Card Trooper, mill 3. He's going to mill 3 spells and traps. Not really going to go anywhere. Dark Arm's going to get summoned. He's going to forget to Royal Oppression his opponent's Dark Armed. So not playing around Royal Oppression or playing with Royal Oppression, and that's just going to be the game. Either way, I do think that Trap Monies was definitely going to win this game, regardless, because even if the draw was like whatever, Cold Wave, he's going to survive, and then Cold Wave being active means he can special summon Chaos Sorcerer and like special summon his Dark Arm then. So yeah, this is just going to win, and that's going to be lethal this turn. There's nothing he can do. So yeah, huge misplays, like 4 or 5 just like game-losing misplays. And then a few deck-building decisions that I think are not very good. I think Raikou pretty bad in X-Sabers. I think Dust Shoot is superfluous. You're going to rip their hand apart anyway. Just have cards that contribute to your combo, or cards that keep you alive till you can combo. And then, yeah, pretty much. What was the other card? Gores. Gores is okay, because you can make an argument for Gores, but I think those 2 cards in particular are not very good in the X-Saber deck. In any case, we got 2 more replays. Oh my gosh, we got a lot to get through. Next one is Romloms versus Kakashi. Romloms is playing, I don't even remember, I think Machina? I think Kakashi's playing Lightsworn. Yeah. So Kakashi's playing pure Lightsworn. He's not playing Fairy Sworn. I do think the Fairy Sworn deck is literally just a better version of Lightsworn deck. I don't really see why you would ever play pure Lightsworn deck when you can play the Christia Sworn deck. You're literally just cutting like gimmick cards, like Necrogardna and shit, for cards like Herald of Orange Light, which are good, and Christia, which is just a win condition outright versus 90% of the metagame. Like, I don't even think it's worth playing Lightsworn without the Christias. It like just doesn't make any sense, in my opinion. It's like playing fucking, I don't know, like zombies without Dark Armed. That's what it feels like to me, at least. Because JD doesn't win the game on its own. Christia does. You know what I mean? That's the difference. So Recharge gets used. Pitches the Lila, mills 2. Does lose the Lila, but you can play through the background a couple different ways. Here comes Arcus, normal summon, attacks the set monster. Now that you've seen Upstart, you know that this is a pure Lightsworn deck, and not the Christia Sworn deck, because the Christia Sworn deck doesn't have room for Upstart Goblin. So, since he is attacking into your set monster with Arcus, Arcus would have been one of the cards that the Christia Sworn deck cut in order to fit Upstart Goblin, so you can piece that together. There's like some rationalization there. Attacks into DD Warrior Lady. You banish this Arcus. Banish this Arcus. Banish it. Banish it. You don't want him to mill 2. You don't want him to have anything in play. You don't want him to have this Arcus. He's cutting off your Book of Moon. And yes, you can switch your DD Warrior Lady to attack and attack over the Arcus. But then you're putting a name in his grave. You're giving him extra mills. Potentially he hits a Wolf here. Potentially he hits Necrogardna here. Stops you from doing what you need to do. Banish the Arcus. Just don't get greedy here. There's really no reason to get greedy. Now, if you're Kakashi Sensei, you should special summon the Trag. And the reason you should special summon the Trag is you can pitch Gareth, steal the DD Warrior Lady. Now, I don't know this order. I don't know if he attacks Arcus. I don't know if you have to activate Trag before DD Warrior Lady gets activated. I think because of the way damage set works. Hold up, I have this pinned in the Discord. If you guys want to know how the fucking damage set works. Okay, so we've got before damage calculation. We've got after damage calculation effects like Gores activates. Okay, so Trag would be, I think it would make a chain with DD Warrior Lady. So what you want to do is, I think, because you're turn player, you have to say, I'm using Trag first. Because it activates in the same step. No. DD Warrior Lady happens after Trag. Okay, Trag would happen first. So you'd have to activate Trag before they say they're using DD Warrior Lady. I think DD Warrior Lady happens in substep 6 of the damage step, now that I'm looking at this fucking graph. Anyway, I think Trag happens in substep 5, and then DD Warrior Lady would happen in substep 6. Either that or... Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So Trag would get summoned, he would choose to banish, so maybe you don't want to summon Trag here. But if they happened in the same thing, you might want to consider using Trag to force this banish to happen. But because he didn't choose to banish, you're like pretty happy with that. I think you just set and then pass. If he attacks over the Arcus again, you can just drop Trag. You also shouldn't set Beckoning Light yet. There's really no reason to. You're probably going to have to JD before you use this Beckoning. This is a really bad setting, Beckoning Light, because you don't have anything engraved that you want to get back. The card that you want to get back is in your hand. So you're going to have to play the JD before you play the Beckoning, right? And if you play the JD and you have to blow up the field, you have to blow up the Beckoning, which is blowing up your second use of that JD. So this is a really bad time to set Beckoning Light. I swear to God, some players just be playing their cards. Some players just be like setting shit in play when they don't need to. Like literally think about when you want to use this card and think about how this works. Summon JD, blow up your own Beckoning, fucking huge L. And then on top of that, you have Trag in hand. Just keep more cards in hand. It's better for you. Yeah, here comes DD Warrior Lady. Attack the Arcus. Just going to run it over. Trag's going to get specialed. Raiko's going to get set. Draw phase, Space Typhoon on the back row. Again, hitting a chainable. A lot of main phase 1 Space Typhoon stuff happening here. Here comes the Beckoning Light activation. Just a weird fucking activation. In general, he wants to get back Lumina so he can Lumina Gareth, but there's really no reason to even do this. Just Trag attack into the DD Warrior Lady. Take your fucking trade and then pass the turn. Literally, just pass the turn. Or, you know what? JD. Fucking blow it up. Blow it all up. Blow up both his monsters. Do it. Just fucking do it. What is the point of the Beckoning Light here? It doesn't make any sense. You're just actually cutting yourself off from using JD. Anyway, he grabs back JD, Lumina, and Gareth, but now he only has 3 names. So it's just like really awkward. And then once you've committed to this Lumina plus Gareth play, just don't attack the sets. What if he banishes your Gareth? All of a sudden you're missing out on your Gareth mills and your Gareth potential draws. It's so weird. It's like, why commit to this play and then shift halfway through the play both times? Again, setting the Beckoning Light was bad. Again, doing all this is bad. Didn't make full use of his Trag. Not going to make full use of his Gareth. Instead, just going to run into Raiko. And then just end phase mill 3 with Illumina. He basically threw away his entire hand. I've never seen someone throw away their entire hand the way this guy did. But he did. And it's kind of just like fucking crazy. Like you just got no equity, no value out of any of your cards. And now you're sitting here with virtually just Judgment Dragon versus an opponent's 6 cards. And that's, you know, Judgment Dragon is good, but it's not good enough to beat 6 cards while your opponent's at 9,000. It's just not. DD Warrior Lady is going to run over the Lumina. And you don't even need to banish it here. DD Warrior Lady will trade with whatever the next play is. Sets Torrential, passes a turn. And then again, not only did he throw away his entire first opening hand, he's going to throw away the JD too by going for it first. The obvious play here is Trag level 3, Summon Plague, make Catastor. It will force the back row. If the back row is bottomless, it will force it. Either that, or if the back row can't get used, it will kill the DD Warrior Lady. Now that you've seen the milled Machina Fortress, you know how insane Catastor is in this matchup too. It kills Machina Fortress if that gets summoned back. JD doesn't even do that. JD will just trade, and then you'll have a fucking Plague Spreader stuck in your hand. So using the JD first is garbage. It's such a bad play. Like, he literally threw away his entire hand this game. It was like almost an impressive display of like how to not play this deck, honestly. Anyway, JD gets activated, Torrential gets chained, and now he has just a Plague versus everything else. A Plague versus the world. Here comes the Machina Fortress, hits for 25, passes turn. Don't even need to set the Dust Shoot because your opponent's never getting to 4 cards with this few cards. Here comes Gores off the top, Gear Frame searches. This is going to be an attack for 18. You have to drop Gores here. Fortress runs over the token, equip main phase 2, sets Card Trooper, and this is going to be an easy clap game. You Pot of Avarice back. Yeah, this game's just fucking over. Like, that's it. End of story. Honestly, you had to Gores attack into the Fortress to remove the Gear Frame to even have a chance. But yeah, I think he played every single card in his hand wrong, which is nuts. Outside of the Trag on the first drop, but honestly, the Trag on the first drop forces the Arcus to trade with the DD Warrior Lady, which you're probably happy with. So I'm not really sure. Anyway, messy game 1. Very, very messy game 1. Game 2, game 3, Lightsworn has some tools in that it has Cyber Dragon. And Cyber Dragon can be reused with Monster Reincarnation. It can be reused with Beckoning Light. So you have a lot of uses of Cyber Dragon out of Lightsworn. So that can be really good in this matchup. Romloms has cited in both Doomcal and Thunder King. Good cards against Lightsworn, generally speaking. Here comes Solar Recharge, Pitch Wolf. Gonna fix that double Wolf draw. And again, like these hands would be like, you would have Christia here, you would have Herald here, you would have Soul here, instead of having Heavy Storm, Gores, Wolf. Now, Heavy Storm, Gores are good cards, and Wolf is like a good card when you mill it, but obviously I'd just so much rather have the Christia, because Christia just immediately wins the game. And you'd have like an insane hand here if that was the case. Alas, you don't have it, so you just have a worse hand. That's just the way it is. Like, you're just playing a worse version of a better deck. Anyway, sets Hamster. Here comes a Summon Doomcal, trade with the Hamster. Doomcal pretty good at trading with these early game set monsters. Sets just a Book of Moon and passes. Here comes a Heavy Storm. Now there's an argument here to wait on this Heavy Storm. You can just summon Jane and attack. But I don't hate Heavy Storm because, like, if your opponent had multiple, they might have set multiple. So, yeah. And plus it guarantees that your Jane sticks with Honest backup and then Celestia is happening next turn. So you have a secondary sweeper in Celestia. So I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that bad to use the Heavy Storm here. You could wait, but I think it plays a little bit better to this hand to not wait. Not really sure, though. Not really sure. Here comes Cyber Dragon. Here comes Thunder King. This is going to lose to Honest, of course. He is attacking with the Cyber Dragon first. It is interesting to attack with the Cyber Dragon first. You have to imagine your opponent has Honest, right? And if they have Honest, let's say they attack over the Jane with the Thunder King. Well, the Jane can't attack over the Cyber Dragon. But now the Jane can attack over the Thunder King. That being said, you do have battle traps, but it would mean that the Jane forces a battle trap, whereas it normally wouldn't if you just leave Cyber Dragon in play. In any case, you Honest over the Cyber Dragon, and then you set 2 and you pass. Here comes Sack for Celestia. It's going to blow up both back row, and that's just going to be a crush. So yeah, follow-up Sweeper is usually too much to handle. Celestia's going to attack over Thunder King, pass the turn. Here comes Set Raikou. Draw for turn is Lila. Now here, I just summon Arceus. Why would you not summon Arceus? What is he going to do? What is he going to have? What is he going to have that's set here? What is he going to have? What is he going to have, folks? Save the Lila for when your opponent has back row. Attack over the set monster. If it's Raikou, fucking can't target your dudes. That's the whole point of Arceus, to play into set monsters. That's the whole point. Here comes Raikou. Raikou pops Celestia. And you should know at this point that his last card in hand is Gores. You should know that. That being said, I think you still proc it because you have your own Gores to counter. So that's what happens. Attacks directly. Gets the 1700 in. That's the crucial damage. Puts him in JD range also as well. Gores is going to attack over the Lila. This is going to attack directly. And then again, you should probably know that he has the other Gores because he should know that you have Gores and he has a way to counter your Gores, which is not Honest at this point. It's definitely his own Gores. So you should definitely not attack directly with the token here. You should just pass. But I mean, some people just want to lose. That's the way it goes. Here comes Card Trooper, mill 3. It's going to attack over Gores. It's going to attack over the token. And yeah, that's going to attack directly. And we're going to go to the next game because that's big damage. That's big boy damage. Big boy damage. Now, game 3, the Lightsworn player has, again, a lot of really shitty gimmick cards that only the pure Lightsworn deck plays. Necrogarna, Wolf, and Monster Reincarnation. These would be Herald, Christia, and Soul. Like, these are cards that you have to think about. These are the things you have to think about. You're like, I could be playing better cards in this slot. That's just, something that modern deck building is about. Now, Romlums makes a really interesting, and by interesting, I mean fucking terrible play in setting Doomcaliber Knight. Why are we setting Doomcaliber Knight, ladies and gentlemen? Why are we setting it? If he has Jane, you have D-Prison. If he has Cyber Dragon, you have D-Prison. If he has Gareth, he just runs over your Doomcaliber for free now. If he has Jane, he runs over your Doomcaliber for free now, or you're forced to use your D-Prison, right? And then if he has Lila, you get fucking owned. You look like a fool. You look like a fool. And that's exactly what happens. He charges for Lumina here. I don't like charging for Lumina here. I actually like charging for nothing. I like just waiting on the charge, actually. But maybe that's just me. Yeah, I like waiting on the charge here. You don't really know what you're going to want. So I like waiting on it. Just so you can, like, potentially get something better later. But it's fine to search for Lumina. Maybe he just didn't want to mill his Lumina, because Lumina's going to be a way he can maybe fix this bad hand. In any case, here comes Lila. Lila break the back row. Absolutely punished for setting Doomcaliber instead of summoning it. I don't know why you would ever set it here. Like, what are you hoping to accomplish with set Doomcaliber here? I don't get it. Here comes Monster Reincarnation, pitching Necrogarna, bringing back JD, and then M-Face, he's going to mill 3. So I don't hate this Monster Reincarnation. You want to use it earlier, now that the JD's in the grave, rather than later, to play around DD Crow. But then again, this deck, I don't know if it even fucking sides DD Crow. And on top of that, like, there's the same chance that he has Trap Dust Shoot in his deck. Actually, a higher chance because Trap Dust Shoot is there. So waiting on the Reincarnation plays around Dust Shoot a little bit better. Whereas using it now doesn't. But it does give you Necrogarna in the grave to protect your Lila. Although that's not really relevant. Next turn, you actually kind of want the Lila to die so that you can bring it back with Lumina. In any case, stops you from getting OTK'd, which is really the main thing. And again, Monster Reincarnation has equity in that it can bring back Cyber Dragon, which is a card that is more likely to be live than JD because you have literally 0 Lightsworn names in your graveyard. So I think you want to wait on the Monster Reincarnation there. While bringing back the JD does play around DD Crow or him top decking a DD Crow on this next turn, there are so many other things you'd rather play around, like just having the versatility of Reincarnation, and again, having the versatility of Charge of Light Brigade. Those cards can become a bunch of different cards later in the game. Whereas if you use them right away, you can't respond to threats as well as you possibly would like, I guess, is the best way to describe it. In any case, pass the turn. Here comes Machina Fortress. Here comes DD Warrior Lady. Warrior Lady attacks the Lila. Necrogarna is going to destroy the Doomcal. There really is... I guess you need to use Necrogarna to destroy the Doomcaliber here. That's going to kill the Lila. Honestly, you should consider banishing it. He has JD in hand. He has Lumina in hand. Why the fuck wouldn't you banish it? That's what I'm thinking. But, hey, that's just me. Because now you're actually giving him plays next turn. Yeah. Now you're actually giving him plays. Set Hamster is an interesting one. You could Lumina, pitch Plague, bring back Lila, do some stuff, but you could always wait on that too. It's not really that necessary. Catastrophe does beat this board though, which is nice. The fact that he didn't banish the Lila is really good for you, basically. I think that's a misplay, not banishing there. I think you're just getting a little too greedy. Fortress is enough to win the game on its own when your opponent has 0 Lightsworn names and they burn their reincarnation to not get their Cyber Dragon back. Their Cyber Dragons are gone. You know, they have JD Lumina, which are both dead cards now. I think Fortress is definitely enough to win the game. Now you're just giving him good Raikou targets. You're giving him whatever. And you're just letting him set up a little bit more than you should. Fortress attacks first. Honestly, probably DD Warrior Lady should have attacked first. Because even if it is Hamster, you just banish both and then you attack the Raikou with the Fortress and you can rip a card out of his hand. That's honestly better play. Now you're just running over the Raikou and you're losing your DD Warrior Lady. And honestly, you should also banish the Raikou. You can choose to banish the Raikou. It is another name for JD. So twice he's had opportunities to banish names for JD, to keep him off the JD he knows about. He fucking knows about this JD and this Lumina in his hand. But he doesn't do it both times. In any case, just pass the turn. Wants to keep his cores alive. Here comes Lumina, pitch Plague, bring back the Lila. I like this play. I like using the Plague. I like stacking the Wolf. I like making Catastrophe here. I think this is good. I think Kakashi made a good play here. He learned from his mistakes in the first game. He's using his tiny dudes to open up the board, and then he's saving JD to win the game. I like this play a lot. While the rest of this game was played really sloppily, I think this turn, him not like getting too greedy and going for like a Gara thing or just something wild like that, I think this is just better. I think this is a good play. And then setting up the Wolf is good too. And FaZe's going to mill 2 Wolves actually, which is really nice. It means he just has a good board. And can't get broken up, can't get OTK'd, can't get put below 1,000. Here comes bring back the Fortress. Honestly, if you're Romlums, you have to consider not bringing back the Fortress because you know about the fucking JD in his hand. You know about the JD in his hand. You know there's 2 names here, and you're killing 2 other names here. So you know you're going to get JD'd. Just save the Force. There's literally no reason not to. You can kill the Catastrophe anyway. There's no reason not to kill. There's no reason. There's no reason at all. There's no reason at all to do this. There's no reason at all to do this. Just save the Force. That is an out to the JD that you know is coming. In any case, here comes Set Book of Moon. Sacrifice for Celestia. This is going to pop 2 cards. You couldn't even clear all the Lightsworn names anyway to play around Celestia. So there was really no reason not to do this. Chain Book on Celestia. And then JD is just going to end this game. So I do like the way that Kakashi sequenced this game. I think Romlums kind of threw there at the end by pitching the Force and not using his DD Warrior Lady when he obviously should have multiple times. JD attacks for 3,000. Now you're top decking versus JD, which is just always a bad time. Cyber Dragon not going to do it. Hamster not going to do it. Sets the Hamster. Here comes pay 1,000. Normal summon Gareth. And that's going to be the game. Good shit. Easy dubs. Easy dubs. I think Kakashi played game 1 terribly. And then I think he played game 3 pretty poorly. But he ended up playing the end game better than his opponent. And his opponent choked in the end game. And that's really what matters, honestly, at the end of the day. You can both misplay as much as you want. But as long as one person is misplaying more in the later parts of the game, that's where it ends up mattering. So, yeah. If you make a misplay early in the game, just try and pick it up. And if it causes you to lose, oh well. But as long as you play tight for the rest of the game, then sometimes it doesn't end up mattering that you misplayed earlier in the game. So remember which misplays matter more, I guess. Final replay I have is Akatsuki 715 versus Bullish 7. Akatsuki is going to lose the dice roll. This is going to be Flamvell versus Frogs. We've seen this matchup before recently, actually in the grand finals of the Carl's Rule tournament. Give me a second. I got to drink some water. All right, we're back. And the set is going to be Raikou plus D-Prison. No. Okay, so he didn't set D-Prison. Generally speaking, you always set D-Prison behind Raikou. If your opponent summons a Sangan, Goblin Zombie, Card Trooper, Dandelion, Vayu, any of those cards, even Sirocco, you want to D-Prison it. You don't want it to get popped by Raikou, and then you want your Raikou to pop the back row. D-Prison is a narrow removal spell. It only removes an attacking monster. Raikou is a very versatile removal spell. It destroys any one card. So you want to use your narrow removal on the cards that you want to use the narrow removal on, aka attacking monsters, and then you want to use your generic removal on stuff that it can be used on, like back row. Let's say all of a sudden they attack over this with a Sangan, they set a back row. Your D-Prison looking kind of silly, because it can't out the back row, it can't force through your Fire Dog, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, here comes Rhoda. This is going to find Stratos, most likely. And you're going to get super giga-punished by this Fire Dog, most likely, because I don't think you're setting enemy controller here. Now, one thing you should do, or consider doing, is actually pitch to special the swap, which he does do. Very nice. Swap's going to send Treeborn. Swap's going to bounce Stratos. Huh? That's wild. I thought he was going to bounce Stratos than normal Dupe Frog. And then maybe set enemy controller too. So you get an extra normal summon when you bounce a monster with Swap Frog. And that extra normal can be used on Dupe Frog, which is pretty good. That puts you with 2 monsters in play next turn. Alternatively, it gives you a reuse of your Stratos next turn, which is very good, obviously, because Stratos is a automatic +1. This play doesn't make any fucking sense, because you end with Dupe Frog in your hand, where it's at its least useful. You end with Swap Frog in your hand, which isn't really doing all that much, and you end with Stratos in play, and you also didn't attack. Why not attack? Now, I understand you don't want to attack if your opponent has a Battle Recruiter, if your opponent has that sort of thing. But if they have a Battle Recruiter and you leave Stratos in play, they can crash into it anyway. So you might as well attack into it, because if it's a Raikou, you might want to trade. Or if it's a Dandelion, you might want to run it over. Or, etc., etc., etc. If it's just something chilling, you might want to see what it is. You know what I'm saying? Proc the effect. Run into the trap. That being said, leaving the Stratos in play, liability. Fire Dog's going to come down. It's going to run over the Stratos. It's going to deal 100. He's going to special summon out Magician. Magician can attack directly. Main phase 2, you can now make Stardust. What? What are you doing? Make Stardust Dragon. I don't understand. Force the Monarch on the Stardust Dragon. Protect your back row. I guess if you leave as many cards in play as possible. No, I still don't get it. I still don't get it. You play around enemy control a little bit better, but yeah, here comes Kai's. Just hit the back row. Oh, hits the set monster. Interesting. I would have hit the back row here, but I think you probably have to Soul X here, honestly. Or enemy controller. I think you have to spend one of the cards because you're kind of low. Yeah, that's going to be game. He's going to attack and he's going to lose to Deep Risen. And then, yeah, next turn Rekindling is just game. Honestly, yeah, that's it pretty much. Yeah, that's that. Going to the next one. Rekindling's busted. Holy shit. I would have bounced the Stratos. I would have summoned the Dupe Frog. I would have tried to set up. I would have tried to use my cards, basically. He didn't use any of his cards. He didn't recognize that he died to Rekindling if he didn't use Soul Exchange. I think that was just messy. I don't think I watched that game one. I think it was over before I even got a chance to click on this match. Yeah, I think I clicked in right around here. That game one was messy from the Frog player. You have to actually play your cards. You have to actually not die. That's kind of the point of playing removal spells, is so you can remove things. I think not synchroing there was interesting, but I don't know how good it was. It was probably fine. I would have made Stardust, but I'm bad, so what do you know? All right, this game, hand looks solid from both players. We got Fire Dog, we got Sidra, which is pretty good. And we've also got Treeborn, we got Regeki Break. So you got a Regeki Break plus a good discard. You got a Dupe Frog to set. You're actually kind of chilling. Just sets Regeki Break. I would have set the Dupe Frog too. Why wait? Actually, I would have done a lot more. I probably would have 1-for-1, pitched the Treeborn Frog, specialed out Substitoad, sacrifice Dupe Frog, go into the Dupe block. There's not really much he can do against that. And then, yeah, just vibe. And then you get Treeborn back every turn. You can piece together some advantage that way. And yeah, you're just chilling behind the 2 Dupe blocks. Either that or just set Dupe Frog. There's really no reason not to. Just setting Regeki Break, it's a little bit conservative. I think getting Dupe Frog into play isn't bad, because Fire Dog can't really get over it unless he's playing enemy controller. In any case, here comes a T set. End phase, you can Regeki Break the back row, discarding Treeborn, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So, nice play. Nice play. Plays around to shoot a little bit. The draw is Substitoad. All right. You have a Substitoad. Bring back the Treeborn. Soul Exchange. Okay, I like it. Using the removal spells. Very nice. Substitoad is going to activate. Sacrifice his monster. Bring Swap. Swap going to send the 2 Substitoads. Sack that. Get a Dupe Frog. Bounce the Swap. Normal the second Dupe. And pass the turn. So this isn't too bad, because he needs 2 removal spells to really do anything through this. But you can see the card that he drew is Mask of Restrict, which is really, really good versus Frogs. Mask of Restrict is kind of just like lights out. They can't really play the game. That being said, right now, neither can the Flamvell player. He needs to find more than just Mind Control to even break through this soft Dupe block. So we'll see what he does. Special Summon Cyber Dragon, activates Mask of Restrict, and that's going to be kind of tough, but also kind of fine, because it's just a stalemate. So yeah, switches the 2 monsters defense, passes the turn. Here comes Brain Control, passes the turn. Now you have Brain plus Mind, and you can break through the board and Mask of Restrict is shutting off your own Caius. There's really no reason not to. There's really no reason to do this. There's really no reason to brain control here. You're gonna brain control the Dupe Frog, and then you're gonna pass it right back. Yeah, Mask of Restrict is two-sided. It is two-sided. While it is obviously crushing versus frogs, it is two-sided. So you have to consider that. You have to understand these things. Also, plus, since you saw Stratos, I don't know. Pulling the Rogue generally better. Here comes Mind Control. This doesn't make any sense. Now you're just burning everything. Doesn't really matter, though, because Mask Restrict shuts off the whole deck. Here comes this Fire Dog, pass the turn. Here comes Burial, pass the turn. After discarding the hero. If you draw a Miracle Fusion, you can play now, which is pretty good. Here comes Set Raikou, pass the turn. Ryza, yet another card that doesn't really do anything. Honestly, at this point, you should just start like brain controlling shit and like attacking shit. Just forcing stuff. But yeah, discarding cards in the end phase is not really a great use of your cards. Here comes Raikou, pop 2 Frog, mill 3. Here comes Descendant, attacks over the dupe, searches swap, or adds back swap. Here comes 200, 1500, and 1900. Fortunately for Bullish, there is no Gores. That would have been absolutely crushing. Sets Bottomless Trap Hole. Here comes Treeborn, but the hand just does nothing into Mask of Restrict. So, Floodgates. Floodgates. They'll do them. They'll do them. And if you don't have an out, that's going to be that. Here comes Swap Frog, send Treeborn. Brain Control, takes Cyber Dragon. Cyber Dragon can attack over the Fire Dog, but that can be rekindling back, and this is lethal. So we're going to the next game. Once again, actually there is no next game. He just won game 1, didn't he? Yeah. Mask of Restrict, stealing game 2, and honestly robbed game 1 by his opponent just deciding not to play the game, which is crazy. Definitely play your removal spells if there's a lesson from this. And also, Mask of Restrict plus Descendant plus Caius plus Cyber Dragon. Maybe think about that one. Maybe think about what you're siding in and out. While it is insane, it is very good. If your opponent just has an out here, you're going to look kind of foolish. You know? Like if his opponent did draw like a Raikou or something. Probably should have saved the Regeki Break. No, he needed to hit the back row there to play. I'm surprised he didn't go for the dupe block thing earlier. That's kind of the whole point of having 1-for-1 in the deck. He ended up end phase discarding the 1-for-1 anyway. Interesting. Frog players. SMH. In any case, smash like, subscribe. See you guys in the next vid. Peace.